Welcome back to the Good Marshals Universal Podcast. Dan Bernardo, Keith Mosier, Bo Davis. Who says that you can change the form?
Obviously, in martial arts, people that are picking up karate probably don't know much about karate or asking the right questions to academically grow their karate knowledge until they probably hit like third-degree black belt, in my opinion. Like,
I think it depends on the person.
It depends on the school.
It depends on the individual.
school.
Whoever ends up being an instructor.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that, because there are some not good instructors out there.
Yeah.
Your more scholarly type is going to end up as an instructor.
Yeah.
The more athletic type may end up as an instructor, but it'll kind of be at a fixed level.
Like more like a coach.
A coach,
Like
that's
a
why I was
tournament-
thinking like a
tournament
coach.
instructor, a
Yeah.
coach,
Yeah.
who still may seek out somebody else who, and you've had these discussions where people have said to you, no, you clearly know more, tell me what it is. There are, and it's true, I think, in every art, there are guys who are out there who are great Wing Chun coaches. And then there are people out there who go, well, in 1853, Wang Wabo and Liang Yi Tai, blah, 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 blah. There are different levels.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the same for you guys.
HEMA's just kind of finding that right now. Like, everyone who started HEMA was super scholarly and like, let's fight with swords, and enough people found out enough about it, and they were like, oh, we can fight with swords. I was kind of one of those kids. But
I would suspect it started out as a bunch of LARPers.
Yeah, it did.
A bunch of
it was
people who-
SCA,
that's
SCA
just-
back in the day.
Man, it's fun watching those movies. Let's
But-
swing
but
sword.
also-
But out of that grew the individual who.
Yeah.
But also a lot of fencers, a lot of
Fencers too,
competitive
yeah.
fencers who, and, in Europe, right, there were a lot of people who were like, well, I don't want to do Asian sword fighting. We have our own. Let's, so it was sort of a cultural thing as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a scholastic endeavor in that regard, but
Right, like the early
still
days.
somewhat of a historical, but more of a cultural, like, I do fight with swords. I do compete with swords. I am a swordsman, but I
That
want to.
sounds so cool when you say it like that, dude. That sounds so cool.
Right? But like,
Yeah.
that is, I think that's one of the
Sick.
big things. With martial arts in general, like, and again, this is why I think people who get stuck in the inability to change, or the inability to desire change, is then other people change and they get left behind, and then they get salty about it.
Their options are to either get on board or to say, no, you're screwing up my thing. No, I'm not messing with your thing at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you look at boxing, like nobody's gonna, you don't walk into a boxing gym and say, "Excuse me, back in the 1910s when the, blah 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 blah." I think that is a better version of boxing. I would like to do that boxing, please. They're gonna be like,
Queen's
"Go
rules.
get out!" Like, it's not what we do
Go to
here.
England, yeah.
Right?
Queen's rules, bare knuckle. This is boxing.
You're
Kinda.
better off just boxing and then going home and studying. Like, you have to have, this is kind of what I'm on the fence about. Like, the more I do and then the more I read, the more I'm like, well, shit, the more I do does matter, but the more I read, the more I understand about what I'm doing and why that ain't working, right? They had sharps half the time. All these mind mechanics are off of a sharp. Okay, well, let me read a book about fetters. Oh, great, that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, they fought completely different. Not completely, but it's like, this makes a little more
it's a lot
sense.
different.
If I read the Germans, I'm like, Yeah, you know, like they're not prepping for armor. They're not nobility. It was fencing, quite literally fencing. I mean, there's a Lichtenhauer is one fencing advice book. That's all it is. But yeah, I mean, he was starting to see that the less scholarly, more athletic type come in. So
Well,
it's something
ultimately
interesting.
it's going to be a balance of both.
Yeah.
And you're going to need to change, to go back to the main topic, changing forms. You need to change stuff. Sifu Fong has changed some aspects of the form, and I will be open and say I actually changed a tiny bit of not Silam Tao, the Mukyang Jong, because I saw it as an opportunity. Well, actually, I take that back. I've changed a little bit of Silam Tao and Chum Kyu and Mukyang Jong because I saw it as an opportunity to teach things. There are 3 kicks at the end of the Mukyang Jong, and most people do it as the same kick. And I saw it as a perfect opportunity to say, no, we can do this as 3. It would look the same to the average person, but each kick has a different energy, a different angle of attack. The opening to Silam Tao, I was taught the exact same opening to Chum Kyu, but the opening in the Build Z form is different. And then I thought, ooh, I can teach a more balanced thought if I modify the opening of Chum Kyu so that we have similarity between Silam Tao and Chum Kyu, but different timing and balance requirements.
Yeah.
Chum Kyu. And then you get to the third form and it's completely different. But now it makes sense because it was different in the first 2. Instead of, why is it exactly the same in the first 2 and different on the third?
It's kind of just nice progression of,
Yes.
I did this and learned it. Oh, I kind of remember that as I'm doing this, learned it. Oh, I kind of remember that. Yeah.
Right. So there can be perfectly. Forms were created to help you learn, changing them if it helps people learn. Duh. I mean, literally, duh.
Yeah.
Why does it bother you?
Yeah, I think it's almost impossible not to. Even if you teach the same form to 10 different people, you're going to get 10 different forms. To expect them to look identical to each other is not kung fu. It's not real martial. You can't expect that.
You can't do the same form 10 years apart.
Heck, 10 minutes apart.
You
2 seconds apart.
You can get close. You can get,
Yeah, but it's not going to be the exact same.
It's not the
It'll
exact
never
same.
be
not
the
gonna be
exact
the
same.
exact same.
Ooh, gosh, we're getting into an earlier discussion, which I won't bring up. Yes, you cannot step into the same river twice.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as repeat.
Yeah.
If I kick the bag, that's with 1 kick experience. If I kick it again, I did not repeat. That's with 2 kicks experience. I cannot do it exactly the same, but in a much grander sense, where people could say you've changed it to, here's how I did the form when I was 30. Here's how I do it when I'm 60. Most people could even notice a difference,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
even if you're trying really hard to do the exact same move.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important because when we think about martial, any kung fu, I'll use that term. I like that term. Kung fu just means any skill developed from hard
skill.
work.
Yep.
No matter what it is going to be uniquely yours. It is, even if you don't train it to be uniquely yours, it is going to be. And so if you do a form and then you go and teach that form to the next person, it is going to be your form that you teach. It is not going to be your teacher's form that you teach.
And it's going to be their form that they do.
And then when they teach it, it will be their form that they teach. It will not be yours anymore.
Exactly what I said in the beginning. It's just a big old game of telephone.
It is a game of telephone. However,
people forget that a lot.
However, okay, there's a difference between a game of telephone and teaching a form. And this is why I don't like the usage of that analogy.
Oh, okay.
If I if I have a game of telephone with you,
Yes.
right? Okay, so I'm going to tell Keith a word or a sentence. Like if I tell Keith a sentence and
Yeah.
then he tells you a sentence, I'm going to go to you and I'm going to go, what was that sentence?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not how a game of telephone works. But that's how form practice works.
Oh yeah, I don't come back.
You don't come back to me.
Oh.
So when you teach a
Okay.
form, it is not a game of telephone. It is a game. It is not. It is a. It is a. It is learning. It is not a guessing game. It is not. You know what I mean?
I would modify that a little bit.
I think
because
it's in line in a way.
in the actual game of Broken Telephone, the goal is the person at the end is to repeat it out loud so that you can see what's changed, and it's what's changed that is the good thing.
That was cool.
But in the case of a form, what's changed may not be a good thing. I mean, the whole
Right.
point of telephone is it turned into a gobbledygook message.
Oh.
That is so funny.
Right.
The whole purpose of teaching should be, no, it shouldn't be, you just totally screwed it up and do not understand Marshall at all.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be, oh, there was a nice little change here, but that was a nice little change that's Marshall.
Right. So if Keith and I have a conversation,
Yeah.
it's not one time I tell him this thing and he remembers as much as he can.
Yeah. It's
we
coming
have
around.
we have this conversation for years.
Yeah.
Going back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? And so if I tell him something, he doesn't just turn around and tell you what he thinks he remembers. That's not how it works. We have a conversation for years, and I then, when I feel you've got it, then he can have a conversation with you. And he might tell you that thing, but it's going to have the same essence. It's going to have the same objective to it,
Yes.
right? I don't like that analogy when it comes
It
to
would-
teaching
Okay.
martial arts.
Yeah, because first of all, the game of telephone, what's the first word? Game.
True.
It's just a game.
Yeah. It's not a game. Fair.
What you should be trying to teach is not a game. I mean, you make it fun, as much as fun as you can.
Right. But it's
the,
instruction.
The
it's
whole
teaching.
thing is
Yeah.
not a game.
It's like, could you imagine, if somebody 100 years ago was teaching math to students, and then when it came back, they were like, "Oh, you're doing
You're
literature.
doing it all wrong.
You're reciting poetry to me. Why,
Yeah, that wouldn't
why
make
are
any
you doing that?
sense.
No,
Yeah,
we were
yeah,
doing
yeah.
math. That's not how instruction works.
Fair.
right?
Yeah.
Now, somebody could be going, I'm going to be teaching you math, and then 100 years from now, that person comes back and he goes, let me show you quantum mechanics, quantum physics. That is a good change.
Yeah.
That is what real learning is about. That is what real cultivation of
Yeah,
understanding is about.
The game of telephone is the actual instructor who teaches usually a kid who goes into his neighborhood and teaches a kid
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
in turn teaches a kid who
Yeah.
thinks now he knows something.
That
Yeah.
is a cool game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Gets
good
that
to
would
put
be
it.
a
That's a game
bad
of
thing.
telephone.
Gets his butt whipped
Yeah.
Right.
and says the problem was this guy
Right.
who taught him stuff.
Eight people down the line. Yeah.
So that's,
Okay.
that's why, why are you changing the form? I don't think that you are, personally, first of all. Modifying certain things in a form is not changing the form. And two, it is not a game of telephone. The idea that you think that this form is ancient and therefore it can be passed down perfectly is not true.
The fact that you think it should be immutable
Immutable is
is
not,
not
true.
true.
But that doesn't mean it's a game of telephone.
The message that it originally was trying to convey is still generally.
Should be.
As long as
Yeah,
the
it's still
Marshall-
displayed, so it can't be. Okay.
As long as the Marshall principles are still there.
Sometimes it's not.
I modified the 3 kicks at the end to have different kicks. They're all kicks within the system. So some people would say, well, you changed the form. No, they're at the same. They're in the same spot on the form, and they continue to express principles within the system. So yeah, you could say I changed it, which is no different than a chef going, I like a little more cinnamon and a little less paprika.
Yeah.
Why are you changing the form?
Why are you
Why are you
changing the
changing?
forms? If you do a form, does it look the same way it did 100 years ago? Hit the like,
Share.
subscribe,
Hit the notification bell.
comment, do all the things. Peace, y'all.
Peace.